I want something deeper.
She was a fast learner. She kissed him back with the same passion. One of his hands moved from her face to her waist. Her embrace tightened as his kiss moved down the side of her neck, and his hand rose to her chest. She didn't realize how he managed to unhook her bra. He rolled her nipple between his fingers, and a soft moan escaped her lips. Luna felt like she was burning, and she wanted more than just touching. It seemed Zach felt the same, as his kiss moved down to her chest. His warm tongue gently licked before suckling. Zach, she called out, almost drowning in the sensation. He pulled his face up from her chest and gently laid her down on the bed. She knew something was wrong with what they were doing, but they were both consumed by desire for each other, and their rational thoughts seemed to have vanished. He positioned himself on top of her and kissed her again.
Heart's Audio Library presents A Burning Passion Between Ex-Lovers, a novel by Honey Hearts. But before I start the story, kindly hit the subscribe button and also hit like if you like the story. Thank you.
Luna was in her second year of mass communication at a well-known university in Chicago. She was a quiet, yet passionate student, always early, always prepared for class, and often unnoticed by most, except by Zach. He was her classmate in one of their major subjects. He had a medium skin tone, was tall, always had earphones with him, and wore a smile that seemed to melt her heart. He was the campus crush, not just because of his looks, but also because of his intelligence and knack for succeeding in class. Luna had a huge crush on him. If there was a roll call for people who were totally smitten by their classmates, her name would probably be at the top of the list. So when their professor suddenly announced that they had a project, and that they had to work in pairs, and that her partner was none other than Zach, she almost wanted to explode from excitement in front of the whole class. After their class, she gathered the courage to approach him as he was heading out of the room. Zach?" she called out, trying to calm her racing heartbeat. He turned to her, smiling.
Hey, Luna, we're partners, right?
She nodded, feeling a bit shy. "Yeah. So I was thinking, is it okay if we do the project at my place? It's quieter there, and there's more space in the living room. My parents won't be home for the weekend. They have a business trip." He raised an eyebrow.
Are you sure it's okay with you?
"Yeah, it's safe, and we'll be able to focus more," she said, smiling, though she could feel her cheeks heating up. He smiled back casually, but with a spark in his eyes.
Sure. Just text me your address and I'll bring the snacks.
At Luna's house, after finishing their project, both of them were sitting on the sofa, organizing notes and materials. Luna felt light. She still couldn't believe that she and Zach were working together on a project. Even though there was a mix of nervousness and happiness in her chest, she tried to stay calm and focus on what they were doing. Zach, though his serious expression remained, couldn't hide the satisfaction in his eyes. Once they finished the project, Zach started packing his things, ready to leave. But before he could get out the door, a heavy rain suddenly poured outside. The rain hit the roof, and Zach paused in the middle of grabbing his bag.
Looks like it's gonna take a while,
Zach said, as if unsure whether to leave or wait. Luna stood up and looked at him. "If you want, you can wait here. I'll make some coffee. The rain might take a while to die down." Zach looked at her and smiled, as if surprised by her offer.
Okay, thanks.
Luna went to the kitchen and quickly made coffee. While waiting for the water to boil, She couldn't help but think about Zach. Her heart swelled with excitement. The tall, fair-skinned guy with eyes that seemed to hide something every time he looked at her. Even though their moments together were simple, Luna felt that each one was special. After a few minutes of waiting, she returned to Zach, holding 2 cups of hot coffee. She placed them on the small table in front of the sofa and sat beside him.
Thanks.
Zach said, with a smile that once again made Luna's heart flutter.
You're so thoughtful. I didn't expect today to be this fun.
No problem, Zach, Luna replied, trying to appear calm. I'm happy to help. As they sat together, the world around them seemed to change. The rain was tapping against the windows, but inside the house, their eyes were speaking without words. As the rain continued outside, it became harder for Luna and Zach to ignore the tension in the air. Every gust of wind and the scent of the hot coffee only heightened their curiosity. It felt as though every moment was becoming colorful, filled with unspoken emotions. Their conversation continued, and as Zach spoke, Luna noticed that the space between them was gradually shrinking. They didn't realize that their eyes had locked, and in those moments, it felt like everything around them had become heavy. The air, the rain, the excitement enveloping them both. They couldn't ignore what they were feeling any longer. The warmth of Luna's body seemed to amplify Zach's presence beside her, and in an instant, he leaned in, his hands holding her tightly. Their lips met in a tender kiss, full of emotion and a connection that had been long sought after.
I really want to kiss you,
he whispered as he gazed at her face. Zach! Her protest was silenced when his lips touched her forehead, trailed down her nose, and finally settled on her lips. It was her first kiss. His lips were soft and hesitant. She closed her eyes, and even though she could taste the aroma on his lips, it didn't stop her from responding to the kiss. She gripped his shoulders tightly as the kiss deepened. A moment later, things seemed to move faster.
Luna,
he whispered as he leaned her back against her bedroom door. And since it wasn't closed, they stumbled inside and nearly fell. She giggled. Zach laughed too, though his eyes remained serious as they locked on hers. He cupped her face gently.
You are wonderful. I can't stop myself from kissing you.
Oh, Zach, we're going crazy. Luna felt the same way. They sat on the edge of her bed. And again, Zach claimed her lips. His hands cupped her face.
I guess we can't just be friends,
he said between kisses.
Because friendship is the least thing I want from you. I want something deeper.
He smiled and stroked her face.
Is the feeling mutual?
She nodded, and Zach's smile widened.
Let me kiss you again,
he said, then kissed her passionately. She was a fast learner. She kissed him back with the same passion. One of his hands moved from her face to her waist. Her embrace tightened as his kiss moved down the side of her neck, and his hand rose to her chest. She didn't realize how he managed to unhook her bra. He rolled her nipple between his fingers, and a soft moan escaped her lips. Luna felt like she was burning, and she wanted more than just touching. It seemed Zach felt the same, as his kiss moved down to her chest. His warm tongue gently licked before suckling. Zach, she called out, almost drowning in the sensation. He pulled his face up from her chest and gently laid her down on the bed. She knew something was wrong with what they were doing, but they were both consumed by desire for each other, and their rational thoughts seemed to have vanished. He positioned himself on top of her and kissed her again.
Luna! Zach!
The voices of her parents echoed loudly. Luna's parents shouted in unison. It felt like they were doused with cold water. Zach quickly jumped up while Luna hurriedly covered herself, trembling from shock and embarrassment. Luna's parents stood in the doorway. Mommy Imelda's eyes wide in shock, and Daddy Joel, looking like he was about to explode with anger, his jaw clenched as he stared at Zack, as though he wanted to throw him against the wall. Luna quickly pushed Zack away and turned her back to him as she tried to regain her composure.
What's going on here? When did you two start doing this?
Luna's mother slapped her across the face. Luna burst into tears, curling into the corner.
It's not her fault.
Zack defended her.
What kind of nonsense is this?
Daddy Joel asked angrily.
You said you two were just doing a project.
Dad? Luna's voice was shaking as she tried to compose herself. We didn't plan this. We didn't...
By the way, you're acting you didn't plan it?
Mommy Imelda shouted.
You're not even graduates yet. What did you think this house is? Some motel?
Zack couldn't meet their eyes. His mind was in a daze, unable to speak as he felt the heavy gaze of Mr. and Mrs. West on him. He gathered what little courage he had and slowly stood up from the bed.
Sir, ma'am, I'm the one to blame.
He said, his voice barely audible.
I'm so sorry.
Go home, Zack.
Mr. West ordered coldly.
Before I do something I'll regret.
Zack didn't hesitate. He quickly dressed and left the room, leaving Luna frozen in shock, fear, and overwhelming embarrassment. As soon as the door closed, Luna couldn't move. Her knees still trembled, and she could feel her entire body flush, not from the heat, but from deep shame and anxiety. She didn't know where to go from there.
Stand there, Luna.
Mommy Imelda said coldly, but her voice was filled with rage. Luna stood slowly, avoiding her parents' gaze. She felt like sinking into the floor.
What were you thinking, huh?
Daddy Joel yelled.
Is this what they teach you at university? That when there's no one at home, you take the chance to get lost with a guy?
Daddy, I'm sorry, Luna sobbed.
Sorry?
Her mother screamed.
Don't you know how hard we work every day to send you to school? To give you a good future only for you to repay us like this?
Luna couldn't answer. She stood there silently as her parents' words, filled with anger and disappointment, poured out.
You didn't even think about self-respect in this house, in your own bed?
Mommy Imelda continued, almost crying from frustration. We didn't mean for this to happen. We just got carried away, Luna whispered.
Got carried away, the youth's excuse?
Daddy insisted.
But what happens if that getting carried away leads to something? What will you say to us then? Sorry again?
Luna lowered her head, trying to hold back the tears, but they flowed freely.
From now on,
Her father declared firmly.
you're not allowed to talk to Zack. No going out after school, straight home. And studying should be the only thing on your mind.
You're grounded, Luna.
Added Mommy Imelda.
And if you think you can just get away with a sorry, then you're wrong.
Luna cried uncontrollably. She didn't know which was more painful, the separation from Zack, or the way her parents were looking at her now. As soon as Zack arrived home, his mother met him at the foot of the stairs. Not with an embrace, but with a sharp look.
Go up to your room right now and don't leave the house until your father and I talk to you,
She ordered. He knew what that meant. With his shoulders slumped, he climbed the stairs, and just minutes later he heard his door open. First his dad, then his mom.
Sit down.
His father said. Zack obeyed without a word.
What were you thinking, Zack?
His father began.
You told us you were doing a project. Is that what you call the debauchery you and Luna got up to at her house?
Dad.
Zack swallowed, but no words came.
Don't try to excuse yourself.
His father snapped.
We're embarrassed in front of Luna's parents. Her mother and father called us just now. Do you know her mom could barely speak through the shame?
You're not even graduates yet.
His mother added, voice trembling with anger.
You know you aren't old enough for something like that. And at the girl's house, inside her own bedroom? Do you even realize how irresponsible that was?
Zack clenched his fists. He didn't speak, because he knew there was nothing he could say to defend himself. He wanted to tell them that his feelings for Luna were real, that it wasn't just a moment of weakness, but in the face of his parents' fury, any explanation would sound hollow.
From now on,
His father said firmly.
you're not allowed to leave the house. No seeing Luna. No going out at all. You're grounded, Zach. And if you still have any self-respect left, you'll make sure nothing like this ever happens again.
He stayed silent. But inside, he knew forgetting Luna would be far from easy. Luna thought that the worst part of everything was the scolding she received from her parents. She thought that if she could just get through the humiliation at home, everything would be fine. But it wasn't. The next day at the university, before she even passed the main gate, she could feel the eyes on her. Whispers, pretending to be quiet, but filled with laughter trailing behind. Some tapped their friends' shoulders while quietly glancing in her direction. When she entered the classroom, the voices immediately quieted, only to be followed by laughter.
Hey, project girl.
One of them called from the back.
Let's have a project in the bedroom, too. Maybe we'll get high grades.
Another joked, followed by more laughter from her group of friends. Luna's head dropped. It felt like she had been slapped in the face all at once. She tried to pretend she hadn't heard, but no matter where she looked, there were eyes judging her. Some stared at her with furrowed brows, as if she no longer had the right to be there. It felt like one mistake was enough to erase all the good she had done. In the hallway, she crossed paths with Zach. Even though they weren't together, it was clear they were both carrying the same weight of shame. Their steps might have been different, but the murmurs around them were the same.
Here comes Zach the toy boy and Luna the scandal queen. Ha ha ha!
What a pity. They're supposed to be looking cute together. Hoo-hoo.
Thinking they're in love? Like they're the only ones with hormones. Lol.
She didn't know if she wanted to sink into the ground or fly far away. What hurt even more was the reaction from some of her professors, who used to be her favorites. Now they couldn't even look her in the eye, or their voices were laced with obvious coldness whenever they spoke to her. Others seemed to hide subtle judgment in every word.
She's so young,
Luna overheard a female student whisper behind her.
and this is what she's already doing? Aren't they afraid of the consequences?
She fought back the tears that threatened to fall. Not because of what had happened with Zach, but because of how everyone was treating them. It felt as though they no longer had the right to love, to make mistakes, or to learn from them. And the hardest part? She couldn't find the courage to approach Zach. Even though her heart beat in sync with his whenever she saw him from afar, she knew it wasn't the right time. Not now. Not in the midst of this judgmental world. They were forbidden to see each other, forbidden to talk. They couldn't even chat, text, or comment on each other's social media posts. Both grounded, both seemingly judged by the world for the same crime, falling in love at the wrong time. At home, Luna could hardly speak. Her mother's gaze was sharp, her father's voice cold. Whenever she tried to explain herself, there was always something else to follow.
You don't even have a degree yet, Luna, and this is what you're concerned about?
Don't you know how hard we work for you?
And as she sat on her bed at night, with no one around but her own tears and guilt, Zach's words echoed in her mind, unstoppable.
I guess we can't just be friends, because friendship is the least thing I want from you. I want something deeper.
As for Zach, he didn't escape the consequences at home either. His father was quiet, but his disappointment was palpable. His mother, on the other hand, was straightforward with her anger.
Son, you heard a girl. She's not just a project partner. She's the daughter of other parents who trusted you.
He had no response, because it was true. And what made it worse was that he couldn't even find the strength to argue. It was as if the moment he allowed his feelings for Luna to be real, that's when everything fell apart. He wanted to message Luna, ask if she was okay, apologize, tell her he hadn't left her, even though they were forbidden to talk. But every time he reached for his phone, fear, guilt, and the constant reminders from his parents would stop him.
Stay away from her for now.
And while Luna's nights were filled with tears, Zach's afternoons were marked by silence, staring at his untouched food tray, sitting quietly in his room, replaying the moment they almost crossed that line, only to pull back. Not because they didn't want to, but because it wasn't time. They weren't speaking, but they were hurting the same. Zach would search for her in the crowd, only to look away when their eyes met from a distance. Luna would scroll through old photos, pausing on one with his smile, only to shut off her phone seconds later, swallowing tears she didn't think she had the right to shed. They were just two young people in love, punished for feeling too much too soon. They met again inside the classroom for the subject they shared, a room that was once the place where they first became acquainted, where the smiles, glances, and quiet flutter of emotions began. But today, it felt like they had both returned to a different world. Luna sat quietly, forcing herself to listen to the lecture. Her eyes were fixed on her notebook, but her mind was far from there. She could feel Zach's gaze from the other side of the room, warm, heavy, and full of words she had already made sure not to hear.
Look at me, Luna, even just for a moment.
But she didn't. She kept her head low, her lips tightly pressed together, her eyes glued to her notes even though nothing was registering in her mind. She didn't need to see his face to feel the sadness in his eyes. It was there in every long second that passed without any words spoken. Across the room, Zach stared. He couldn't help it. Her hair was curled slightly today, just the way he used to love. The curve of her cheek, the small frown between her brows as she pretended not to notice him. Everything felt like a familiar ache. It was torture, seeing her so close, yet feeling so distant.
Say something.
His eyes silently pleaded. But Luna, she squeezed her eyes shut for a brief moment, then took a slow breath. She wouldn't give in. She couldn't let her feelings win over the decision she was standing firm on now, to obey her parents. I can't fight for you right now, Zach. Silence stretched between them. No words were spoken, but there were glances full of pleading and avoidance tinged with pain. While the rest of the class was absorbed in listening, the two of them were consumed by the unspoken suffering they shared. A week passed, a week of cold silence and stolen glances, quickly averted. In the classroom where they still shared the same subject, Zach couldn't keep his eyes off her. Even though Luna did her best to ignore him, he could feel the tension between them, the weight of words unspoken, and emotions forced into hiding. Deep inside, she was crumbling under every intense look he gave her, but her resolve was firm. She would never disobey her parents again. If she had to, she'd sacrifice her own heart. But Zach had reached his limit. He was done pretending. After their practice session for a class activity, Luna lingered in the music room, tidying her things, ready to leave, when suddenly, a familiar warmth enveloped her from behind. Zach! She whispered in shock, her body freezing. His arms tightened.
I've endured long enough.
Let me go, please, she pleaded weakly. I don't want this anymore. But he wouldn't let her. He couldn't bear to.
No,
He said, quietly but firmly, his breath brushing her ear.
I'm not letting you go. I can't lose you, Luna.
She turned slowly to face him, her chest heaving with unshed tears. Zach, we can't!
Yes, we can.
His eyes locked on hers, fierce and desperate.
Just say it. Tell me you don't feel anything for me anymore, and I'll walk away.
Silence. The answer was there. In her eyes refusing to meet his, in her trembling lips unable to speak. I can't, she whispered, almost inaudible. But I can't hurt my family again. He cupped her face gently.
Then let me bear that burden for you. I'll face them. I'll take the blame, Luna. Just please, don't push me away.
Why are you doing this?
Because my feelings for you are real.
He replied without hesitation.
Maybe I was slow to admit it, but I'm not too late to fight for us. I won't let you slip away like that.
Something broke inside her. Silent tears fell as her hands reached up to clutch his shirt. She still couldn't fully admit it, but she couldn't hide her emotions any longer. He leaned his forehead against hers.
Let me be braver this time.
And for the first time in a long while, Luna didn't pull away. From that day in the music room, everything changed. They slipped back into each other's arms. Finally. Officially. Albeit secretly. Despite all the complications, Zach and Luna chose each other. It was hard, dangerous, but worth it. They stole moments between classes. Zach brushing his fingers lightly against her hand when no one was looking, Luna slipping a quick note into his notebook before he opened it in class. Sweet nothings scribbled in tiny handwriting.
I missed you today.
Or,
You make everything feel lighter.
on weekends when Luna's parents were sure to be away, Zach would sneak over. Sometimes they'd sit together on the terrace, hand in hand, or watch a movie in the living room with the volume low and the lights even lower.
If this could always be like this, I'd be fine.
Zach would whisper, pressing a soft kiss to her temple as Luna rested her head on his shoulder. She'd smile, tracing invisible patterns on his chest. I wish this never had to end. With every moment together, Luna felt herself falling even deeper. It wasn't just the thrill of secrecy. It was the way he looked at her, as if she were the only person in the world. The way he held her, like she was someone worth protecting. The way he listened, cared, stayed. For Zach, it was simple. Luna was everything. She had become his peace and his chaos, his favorite distraction, and his reason to stay grounded all at once. Yes, they had to dodge judgmental classmates, nosy friends, and the looming threat of disapproving parents. But when they were together, none of that mattered. What they had was real. They were in love, and no amount of secrecy could extinguish the fire burning between them. It was a long weekend, and Luna told her parents she'd be on a group trip with some classmates. Zach said he was off to a leadership camp up north. In truth, they were finally together. Just the two of them. They booked a secluded lakeside cabin. Quiet, cozy, perfect. As soon as they stepped inside, hand in hand, Zach grinned.
Looks like we're officially fugitives.
He joked, pulling her into a warm hug. Luna laughed, tipping her head up to meet his eyes. Then I'm happy to be on the run, with you. They spent the day exploring the woods around the cabin, fingers entwined as they walked the lakeside path. Every so often, Zach would stop and draw her close, kissing her forehead.
You're seriously the most beautiful thing out here.
He murmured, his eyes full of warmth. Please. Luna rolled her eyes playfully. More beautiful than the lake?
Absolutely. The lake never kisses me back. Ha ha ha!
She giggled, swatting his arm, then pulled him into a slow, soft kiss full of meaning. That night, they made dinner together. They burned the garlic bread and laughed until they could hardly breathe. They danced barefoot in the tiny kitchen while waiting for the pasta water to boil. Later, they curled up on the couch under one big blanket, the sound of crickets outside their only soundtrack. Luna rested her head on his chest. Zach gently played with her fingers.
You know,
He whispered.
I could stay like this forever. Us. This, no hiding, no pretending, just you and me.
She lifted her head to look at him. I want that too. More than anything. Zach cupped her face and pressed his lips softly to hers.
Then we'll make it happen. Someday, I'll fight for that life with you, Luna. Just you and me, and no more secrets we need to hide from our families.
Outside, the stars shone brightly. Inside, their love burned even brighter. Just when everything seemed perfect, secret, hidden, and against the world, Zack felt like he finally had something real. Someone real. Luna was his. But one morning his world tilted off its axis. He was barely awake when a classmate messaged him.
Dude, is it true that Luna dropped out? The registrar says she's no longer in the system.
At first he laughed it off.
Impossible.
He replied.
She's just on a trip. She'll come back.
But when he tried to call her, there was no answer. He texted her. No reply. His heart pounding, he sprinted to the registrar's office himself. And there it was. Her student record. Gone. Deleted. Withdrawn. Final. His legs nearly gave out as the registrar politely confirmed.
She filed a complete withdrawal last week, effective immediately. She's reportedly migrated to another country.
Those words ricocheted through his mind like bullets. He couldn't accept it. He wouldn't. He didn't care about her parents' anger anymore, about the campus gossip, or the risk of being scolded again. He had to see her, so he ran straight to Luna's house. Desperate, reckless, hope raced through him. Please, God, please let this be wrong. When he reached her front gate, he pounded on it.
Luna!
He yelled, voice raw.
Luna, please!
No one answered. A neighbor appeared at the fence, pity in her eyes.
Oh, son, they left early yesterday morning for New York. She's going to study there.
The ground spun beneath him. He stumbled back, gasping. Luna was gone. She didn't even say goodbye. He never got to hold her one last time. He never even told her that. He would have gone with her if she'd asked. And for the first time in a long while, Zack felt truly alone. He collapsed onto the curb in front of her empty house, stunned, as his mind refused to accept the truth. But his heart, torn to pieces, was the first to surrender. He dropped his head, and then he broke. His shoulders shook as sobs tore from his throat, raw and uncontrolled, no longer caring who might be watching.
Luna,
he whispered to the empty air, voice a hoarse plea.
Why did you do this to me?
He pressed one fist against his chest, trying to still the ache, but it only pounded harder.
I thought we were in this together. I thought you'd fight for us. Why'd you leave me like this?
His voice cracked, grief in every word. He had never imagined, through all the obstacles they might face, that this would be their end. He never thought the girl he loved, the girl he fought for, the center of his world, would vanish without a word. And in the silence of that morning, in front of her empty home, Zack was left, broken, directionless, full of questions that would never be answered. Why did she just leave him? Why did she have to hurt him this way? 5 years later, it had been a year since Luna returned to Chicago. Life overseas had been fine, but coming home felt like a chance to rebuild. She had landed a decent job at Show Talk, one of the country's leading entertainment publishing companies. It was fast-paced, demanding, but she liked the pressure. It kept her mind occupied, away from the past. One supposedly peaceful day, her editor handed her a new assignment that shattered that peace.
You're the only one I trust with this. We need an exclusive one-on-one interview with Zack Herrera.
Luna almost choked on her coffee. Her mind went blank. Her stomach dropped. Zack Herrera? The name still hit her like a tidal wave. Bachelor, business tycoon, her ex. The ex she loved so deeply, the one she left behind, because of fear, because of family. The ex she never forgot. Why me? She asked, barely able to keep her voice steady.
Because he doesn't do interviews. Ever. But our contact says he agreed on one condition. He wants you to interview him.
It felt like the earth had shifted beneath her feet. She tried to talk her way out of it, even begged, but there was no escape. Destiny was, once again, pushing her into his orbit. That fated day, when they finally faced each other again, Zach took a steadying breath and let his hands fall to his desk. He walked over to the window and looked out for a moment, his back to her. When he turned around, his face was carefully blank. Calm, composed, the CEO mask slipping back into place.
I'll do it,
he said coolly. Luna blinked. The interview?
Yes, the exclusive one your company is so desperate to land.
His voice was a smooth, controlled. But there was a new flash in his eyes. Something darker.
But on one condition.
She squared her shoulders, fighting to keep her composure. What condition? He stepped closer. Too close. Luna's breath caught.
You have to sleep with me.
He said, quieter than crude, more dangerous than a shout. Zach! Her voice cracked before she could stop it.
You want this interview with me, right? It's the only condition I'm asking from you. You get to decide. Take it or leave it. Besides, you wanted honesty, don't you?
He cut in.
Okay then. I'm still angry at you, Luna. I'm hurt. But I also still want you. I've tried to forget you, to bury everything. But now that you're here, damn it, I can't.
Her lips parted, but no words came.
I'm not trying to humiliate you,
he went on, a bitter smile pulling at his lips.
I just want you to understand what you did to me. And maybe, just once, if you're willing to cross that line again, I can finally let go.
She stared at him, her heart pounding, torn between the heat in her chest and the cold slap of reality. Was this revenge? Desire? Or both?
You don't have to answer now,
he added, stepping back.
You have my number. Think it over. If you're not interested,
he shrugged.
Then the interview's off.
He gave her one last look, hungry, aching, dangerous, then turned away.
You can leave.
Luna inhaled deeply, fighting the storm in her chest. Her brain screamed at her to walk out the door. But her heart, bruised and guilt-ridden, whispered something else. For the job. For closure. For him. If this is what it takes, she whispered, voice trembling. Then, fine, okay. Zach's head snapped up, and for a brief second, the anger in his eyes vanished, replaced by surprise, and something deeper she couldn't name. You want this to end, don't you? Luna pressed on, forcing her legs to stand firm. You want closure. You want me to pay for leaving you like that. Fine, here I am. Do what you have to do. He said nothing, and the silence between them grew heavy, as if their long-buried emotion had finally broken the surface. Then Zach stepped forward, slow and deliberate, as though testing whether she'd flinch. She didn't. His hand rose, tucking a loose curl behind her ear.
Are you sure?
He whispered, softer than before. I wouldn't be standing here if I weren't, she answered, her voice steady. They held each other's gaze, neither rushing, neither recoiling. Luna reached out, took his hand, and guided him forward. Let's go, she said softly. And in that moment, they crossed the line they had danced around for 5 years. Knowing it could either heal their wounds or shatter them all over again. The elevator ride to Zach's condo was silent but thick with tension. Neither of them dared speak, afraid that one wrong word might shatter the fragile thread holding the moment together. As soon as the door clicked shut behind them, Zack reached for her. His kiss was desperate. No more words. No more explanations. Just the crash of years of longing, pain, and desire colliding in one heated moment. His hands framed her face, lips devouring hers like a man starved. She responded instantly, like no time had passed between them. Her arms wrapped around his neck, pulling him closer, needing him nearer, needing him to make everything else disappear. He walked her backward, barely breaking the kiss, until the backs of her knees hit the couch, and they tumbled down together. Luna released a breathless moan as Zack's kisses trailed down her neck.
Luna,
he murmured, his lips following every inch of her skin.
I tried forgetting you. Every single day. But no one else ever felt like you.
She gasped when his lips found the hollow of her throat. When his hands slid beneath her blouse and touched her bare skin.
You left me.
He whispered hoarsely as he began removing her clothes.
But you never really left me, did you?
I never forgot you.
Luna replied, her hands creeping to the back of his shirt, seeking the warmth of his skin.
Never.
Shirts were lost, then pants. Then the world blurred. She arched into him when his lips traveled lower, rediscovering all the places he'd once known. Now explored again with a mixture of reverence and hunger. When he took her breast in his mouth, she cried out softly, clutching at his hair, urging him on.
Zack,
she moaned, her body trembling with need. He groaned at the sound of her voice, saying his name.
God, I missed you.
In one swift movement, he lifted her into his arms and carried her to the bedroom. There, beneath the warm sheets, they shed the last of their defenses, skin to skin, breath to breath. Every kiss was a memory relived, every touch a silent plea for time to rewind. When he finally entered her, it wasn't just two bodies meeting. It was two broken hearts trying to piece themselves back together. Their rhythm was slow at first, almost reverent, like worship. But the years of separation lit something hotter, deeper. They moved together like they'd been made to fit.
Luna,
he whispered, holding her gaze as they reached the peak.
Stay. Please stay this time.
She didn't answer right away. Instead, she wrapped her arms tighter around him, pulling him impossibly close. And in the breathless, trembling silence after the storm, she pressed her lips to his ear and whispered,
I never wanted to leave.
They remained silent. The only sounds were the soft tap of the wind against the window and the deepening of their breaths. The music of the night. Luna rested her head on the left side of Zack's chest, hearing the strong yet calm beat of his heart, almost as if it was telling her,
I'm still here.
Zack's fingers traced her arm aimlessly, as if reacquainting himself with the feeling of her skin. No one spoke, but the silence was full of meaning. Minutes passed before Luna whispered, almost inaudibly,
I never wanted to leave, Zack.
A frown tugged at Zack's brow as he looked at the woman in his arms. He said nothing, waiting for her to continue, his attention fully on her. Luna lowered her gaze, avoiding his eyes. That time, my dad was really sick. He said if I didn't go with them overseas, he was not going to take his necessary medications. I was scared. I couldn't lose him. She bit her lip.
I chose my father.
But it didn't mean I stopped loving you. God, I never did. Zack paused his caresses. A few seconds passed before he gently cupped her face, lifting it to meet his gaze once again.
You should have told me,
he murmured. There was no anger in his voice anymore, only sadness and regret.
I wanted to,
Luna replied, tears welling up in her eyes. But it hurt so much. I thought you'd hate me. I thought you did. Zack exhaled deeply. Then he held her tightly, kissed her forehead with tenderness and regret.
I was angry.
He admitted.
For a long time. But honestly, I was just hurt. I waited. I never stopped waiting for you and loving you, Luna.
They stared at each other. No hesitation. No secrets.
I still love you.
Zach whispered.
Even after everything, after 5 years, I never stopped.
Tears fell from Luna's eyes. I still love you. There's been no one else in my life but you. Only you, Zach. For the first time in a long while, they both felt free. No bitterness, no regrets, just a love reignited by fate. Epilogue. Almost a year later, in an open garden cafe, with twinkling hanging lights and live acoustic music in the background, nestled behind an elegant events venue somewhere in Chicago, Zach and Luna sat hand in hand. The air was cool, the stars twinkled in the sky, and laughter filled the air from nearby tables. But in their little corner of the world, it was just the two of them. From once having a secret relationship, they were now free to love each other openly. After months of slowly rebuilding trust and love, they finally told their parents the truth. To their surprise, this time, there were no screams, no objections. Their families, perhaps older, wiser, or finally seeing how real their love was, chose to support them. Besides, they were no longer kids and college youngsters, and maybe their families realized it was time to let them follow their hearts without any disapproval.
You know,
Zach started playing with Luna's fingers.
it still feels like a dream.
She smiled, resting her chin on his shoulder. A dream I never want to wake up from. He chuckled softly and kissed her temple.
I promised you before, didn't I? That I'd fight for us. And look where we are now.
In a cafe in Broadway, with cheesy music playing. Luna joked, her heart fluttering.
Haha, cheesy is good.
Zach replied, before standing up. Wait, where are you going? She asked, a little confused but smiling. He turned to her, the lights reflecting in his eyes, and pulled something from his pocket.
Luna.
Luna gasped when he knelt in front of her. Time seemed to slow down. Even the soft melody from the acoustic band faded into the background.
I loved you then. I love you now. And I'll keep loving you for the rest of my life.
He said, his voice trembling.
This time, no more leaving. No more goodbyes. Just you and me. Legally, openly, completely. Will you marry me, Luna?
Tears welled up in her eyes, her heart racing. She couldn't speak. Instead, she nodded repeatedly, a smile forming through her tears. Yes, Zach. 1,000,000 times, yes. The people around them cheered. The band shifted to a romantic tune. Zach slid the ring onto her finger, stood, and pulled her into the most emotional, most perfect kiss. They had been through hell and back, but here they were, whole, healed, and finally home in each other. And this time, they were forever. The end.